is Dominic, wedding DJ.
And this is Serena, wedding planner.
And together we are the Wedding Duo. We are here to talk all things weddings.
Planning a wedding can be stressful, but we are here to help.
So before you say, that's it, we're going to Vegas, don't go to Vegas.
Let's have some fun.
Join us as we answer your wedding questions and help navigate planning one of the biggest days of your life with
the Wedding Duo.
I know what you're all thinking. Where have you been? We've been in Ohio. That's where we've been, but we're back now, aren't we?
We are back. And oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how exciting it is to be back. I feel like we've been waiting for this moment to record a new episode for you guys for way too long.
I hope it's like riding a bike. I think I forgot. I managed to plug everything in and turn it all on. It seems to be operating fine. That's good. Hopefully it'll make it to your ears
soon.
Smooth as silk.
Yeah. And the other thing is, if you're watching this on YouTube, it probably doesn't look all that much different, but we are literally in the basement of our house in Ohio now, rather than in our studio in Texas.
It looks different. We have a different sign behind us. It's supposed to light up, but it was too bright behind us. Oh, a new merch. Look at.
You can't see if you're listening on the podcast.
Says my brain is it was my birthday gift. One of my birthday gifts from my lovely wife. So my brain is 99.9% song lyrics, which is pretty true.
Pretty true.
Good portion of it for movie quotes too.
Yeah. So you guys, this episode is the beginning of our new season. So we recorded, I think, 64 episodes previously, and we've been just hoping you guys hold on to those while we transitioned from Texas to Ohio. But now we're back and we're going to have all new things to talk about. We're going to dive into some new topics, have new guests, all good stuff.
Is that the standard?
What?
65 episodes for a season? Good gracious.
I don't know. We just
Do you
kept
have
talking.
Netflix? It's a little like supposed to be like 7. But
we just kept talking and talking.
We should be on season 37. Here we go. But
no, we're doing our own thing.
We're calling these the Ohio sessions.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, unless you follow us like so close that you've seen every single one of our posts, what are we doing? Yeah, what are we doing in Ohio, and like why did we move, right? Because we enjoyed Texas and our business is in Texas. Still, and it still operates. So for those of you out there, I want to like put this disclaimer out there. Nothing really has changed as far as like our services that we provide. At Last Entertainment and Events is our San Antonio based company, and it still operates there in San Antonio. We travel back to Texas to do events regularly.
All the time. I keep saying this is not a job you could put your 2 weeks in. So even if you relocate, like my name and your name are on a lot of contracts in San Antonio and the greater Texas area. And if it has my name on it, I will be doing that event. If it has your name on it, you're doing that event. If it has one of our team on it, they're doing the event. But starting, 2 weeks, I go to Oregon and then Pennsylvania and then Kentucky.
Yeah. So we've got some travel stuff coming up, which is super exciting.
We go to Wisconsin
and
Minnesota.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
So just to keep you guys posted, like nothing has changed there, right? Like there's still our San Antonio based company. It mostly runs with management at this point, but they're fantastic. You can hire us to travel, fly to wherever you are, do your event, but we also have all of our digital services. And one of those services is this podcast that we love so much. And we've missed so much. We've missed talking, and we've heard so much feedback about when's the podcast coming back? And I'm like, we're trying.
It's a whole thing. One of the things that I don't think it's used as much that I think could be a valuable tool for anybody out there that is DIYing a lot of it, not DIYing all of it, but let's say you have a friend in the family who's going to be your planner or your coordinator for the day of. It's Aunt Betty. It's your friend from work. They've done a little bit of it, but they're like, I've done events, but I've never done weddings. We do virtual planning where we'll do a Zoom call where it's you for some, me for some, us for some, but it could be the couple that go on and then whoever's the planner. We've done several of these where they're just there taking notes. We like talk through what we're doing and they're just like, I got it. And then we'll throw something to them like, okay, here's what you should be doing at your part at this part of the night. And we could just like set your team up for success for the two of you so that you can just be pretty and be in the moment. And your planner and coordinator can have all the tools or all the arrows in their quiver, or whatever you want to say, to be ready to handle the event. And we can we've had people that started with like, I'm happy to do it, but I don't know what I'm doing. And at the end, they're like, oh, I got this. I'm dialed in. I'm ready.
And you end up with a timeline. You end up with all the song suggestions, all the good stuff that we talk about regularly on like our social media platforms. And it's a much more obviously affordable option than having us actually come to your event.
We need to do a whole podcast on DIY and each category where the DIY pitfalls that
Yeah,
you could
that's a
potentially
good
see,
one.
because everybody has a friend in the family who's a photographer or a chef or a baker or a DJ or whatever it is. And yeah, the budget's a big thing, right? So you want to like save money where you can.
Right.
And so oh, you'll be my photographer, but maybe they don't do, maybe they're sports photography or portraits or whatever they do, family portraits, but maybe they don't do weddings.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that stuff. And again, we're not photographers, but it's like anything. You dabble in this industry enough, you start to learn the tricks of the trade. And we can, I think, guide the ship a little bit with some of that stuff, maybe.
Right. No, those are good suggestions. So if you guys have suggestions for future episodes, like he's talking about, definitely put them on one of our posts. You can email us hello@theweddingduo.co. If there's something you really want us to talk about, we are an open book, right? Right now we're recording a bunch of new stuff. So please let us know. To his point about our services, also, I just want to touch on too. We still have all of our digital downloads, meaning like you can download our music planner, our wedding planning bundle. We do mashups of songs. If you've seen our posts where we talk about the bride's entrances, where they actually have their voice coming onto the track before they enter the room, we can create that for you. So there's
Oh,
just
it's
a lot of fun
just,
stuff available.
it just crushes people's, like, just gets them right in the feels so hard. They're like,
Yes.
oh yeah. And I mean, even the first one I did, the one that blew up, it's like 3.3 million views. The one we did in Dallas, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was on a flight and I promised to get it to her. She had the music. I heard her voice. She recorded and she sent it to me. I was sitting waiting for my flight, and it was early. It had to be like 5 a.m. I'm sitting in the airport and I'm like, I got to get this to her before I board this flight. And I'm listening to it and I put it together and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is going to be
Yeah.
massive. And I was like getting emotional putting it together, and I sent it to her and I'm like, get some tissues ready. First of all, make sure you're alone so that somebody doesn't overhear it, because you want to keep it a surprise.
Absolutely.
But I was like, holy cow, this is going to be massive. And 3.3 million views later, it was, and the moment was big, and I was crying, you were crying,
Oh my
everybody was
gosh,
crying. The
it
groom was
so
like,
good.
remember what he said when it started?
That wasn't fair.
That's not fair.
That's
That's
not
what he
fair.
said. That's not
Yeah.
fair. I'm like, oh yeah, that's not fair. That's pretty, it was
And
heavy.
now they're having a baby.
Are they?
You didn't know that?
How did
I
I-
did. I'm the one on Instagram a lot more, but yes, they're having a baby now. So
That's exciting.
congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
Selena and
you
Tyler,
two.
congratulations. But so I just wanted to kind of start this episode by like reassuring people and letting them know if we have new listeners, which we probably will, just what we're about and what we do. Now, what I want to talk about too is like, why the heck did we move to Ohio? Because we get that question a lot, like, what are you doing in Ohio, right?
I'm still thinking sometimes like, oh yeah, man, we moved.
We're not in Texas anymore.
Yes.
So let's start with the obvious reasons, right? It was hot. Okay, let me just tell you, if you're not in Texas and you're not from Texas, or you haven't been there for a long time like we were, I don't think you can really grasp just how hot it started getting during the summer. And I'll tell you a funny story. So our Alexa, the little Alexa thing,
The talking cylinder, we like to refer to her, because otherwise
Yeah.
she'll turn on.
so
listening.
she's here with us in Ohio, but she still, for some reason, thinks we're in San Antonio. So she gives us weather updates from Texas. And for the last week, she has come on in the morning and said,
There's a
heat advisory
in
for San Antonio, Texas. And we're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad we got out of there. But
Yeah.
I mean, nothing against where we were or the state as a whole, anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. It's just for us, we were getting uncomfortable, right?
Well, and people don't appreciate how far south San Antonio is. San Antonio is further south than the entire states of New Mexico and Arizona. Like further south, like it is North Mexico, really, right? Like it dips way down there. So we were just really far south, and we've never lived that far. We were there for a long time, but I have family up here. I have a sister,
Yep.
2 hours in Cleveland. I have a brother, 2.5 hours in Pittsburgh. My family's all up in Wisconsin still. So it's just,
Sure.
it's been amazing how much family we've had. We've had a guest every weekend almost. Yes, it's been great. But
So that is, kind of part of the decision, the family. It was too hot. Dominic and I would like to consider us kind of like adventurous type people, and like staying in one place, staying in San Antonio for almost 10 years was a lot for us. We were getting a little bit of an itchy vibe. Like, let's do something different. So
well, being former military, you just get this nomadic way about you where you're
Right.
like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, pull up the anchor and set sail somewhere new. So yeah, it has been an adventure, that's for sure.
yes. The main piece, though, that if you've followed us on social media, you've probably seen us announce it, is that we found a property here that we just couldn't pass up. Let's just put it that way, right? It is unbelievably just perfect for our new endeavor that we hope to share more about in the coming months. So we purchased about 20 acres here north of Columbus, and our residence is here, so we have a home here. But there's also a building that the previous owners used to do events in, small, very small scale. So the plan is to renovate, to do some upgrades and that kind of a thing, and then open our own space eventually.
Well, we
Uh,
can't quite get there yet because we had to get up here, get the family up here, get
mhm.
into school, settle in. All the other events that we had booked back in San Antonio, so it's been like every weekend. It's like you're in for 3 days. I unpack a couple boxes. I'm like, yep, pack up, get back on the flight, go back down. So
Mhm.
we're slowly kind of settling in and getting our heads wrapped. We've talked about building, we've talked about renovating, but every time I walk down, there's a little pond down there, right?
There is.
I walk down there, there's this beautiful green like hill, and I'm like, I can just I close my eyes, I could just see the ceremony. I'm like, this is a gorgeous ceremony site, and the reception space is minimal, but we're looking at there's a lot of different ways we can go. But man, I'm very excited. Who's gonna be the first? I'm so excited to see who's gonna be our first
Well, I've
couple.
had, since we've made the announcement, we've had quite a few people reach out and be like, "When's it opening? Like, do you have any more information?" And I promise we will share as we gather, our decisions that we make. That being said, we want to make sure we're not like throwing stuff out there and then taking it back because we can't do it. So we're just being very
We've already done
strategic.
that a couple times. I got like, okay, we're gonna try. We're getting there.
We're getting
It's
there.
that I know we're trying to get. There's a lot of moving parts right now, but I mean, like I said, life is getting simpler. I've got the travel thing dialed in much more. I'm like, it's
Absolutely.
gotten to be more of a machine. Those first few, I was like flying back with stuff, and I was driving trucks filled with gear, and the cars.
Oh, it
It
was
was
a
a lot.
lot.
But now it's like just me and the suitcase. I got it.
And you guys, the funny story too is like how we even got here. So we have two large dogs. No, one very large dog. He's a Great Dane mix, and then we've got a smaller Shepherd mix. And we were like, how are we getting them to Ohio? And
Yeah,
also, they're
we're not
train wrecks,
carrying them
kind of.
on. They don't
They
carry
don't
on those dogs.
no, and they don't do well in like they're not in their home environment. So we were like, okay, we have to baby them. So
Well, and
we
I
just
thought even if we did hotels, like we'd have been kicked out of every hotel because the minute the first door slams, which happens all the time in a hotel, we'd be like, "Oh, no, no, no." They'd
yeah.
have been like, you have to go. And I'm like, great.
I know. So what we decided, brilliant idea by me.
It was
Ready?
brilliant.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, so here was the thing. I thought like, okay, let's find a RV and we're going to take the RV. Dominic's going to drive with the kids and the dogs. I'll follow in the minivan because we have a minivan. But what I soon realized was that like the larger companies, you can't do one-way trips. So obviously since we were moving, we needed to like just leave the RV there, right? So then I started to get more inventive and I was like, okay, what if I can find someone who we could like have fly out? And it was this whole thing. But, anyways, long story short, I found a gentleman based in San Antonio who allowed us to rent his RV, drive it to Ohio. We paid for his flight. He came, picked it up, and drove it back. I mean, it was so perfect. I can't even tell you.
He had a friend in Louisville, Kentucky, I think, that he
Hmm.
wanted to go see on the way back anyway. She's like, it's perfect. And then somehow I damaged it. I don't know.
Yeah, I
The big
know.
scratch on the side. And he showed me a picture. I go, where did that even happen? I go, I'm sure it happened on our watch, but it was a big scratch. I
But
feel like I would have known, but maybe,
we booked
maybe
the
sleep deprivation. I was like, I felt bad.
I know. We booked the original trip through RV Share, and they have insurance, so we didn't pay a darn thing.
Yeah. No, we paid for the insurance though.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't that expensive,
No.
so it was worth it. Let's just put it that
Yeah,
way. It
for
was
sure.
worth it. So that was our travels, right? We made a whole, I think, week and a half of it. We stopped at different places. The kids had the time of their lives, like driving across through the different states. It was beautiful weather.
Our 13-year-old Kansas City fan slash Taylor Swift fan, we had a TikTok we did in front of Arrowhead Stadium 3 days before the Super Bowl. There you go. That was the time frame right there.
I mean, it was
It was
so
good.
great. Like those memories, those trips, I mean, things like that, they're irreplaceable. So we were very excited. And then the funniest story I like to tell too is when we were getting closer to the house. I I should back this up. I had not seen the home. So Dominic flew out
It's just
to check out the property and, make sure we wanted to buy it. And I did a video call, so I saw it virtually, but I hadn't actually physically seen the house or the property. And I called him from the van because I was following him in the RV. And I said, I'm just wondering, like, as we were passing these different properties, I was like, "Are we off a main road?" Like, I started asking all these questions. I started getting worried. Like, what does it look
I was like,
like?
"Sweetheart, that ship has sailed. It doesn't we're not moving the house. If it's close to a road, it's close to a road." It wasn't. I mean, that's something I always look at, but
Right. But I guess I just started second guessing, like, what I had seen on the video, and it had been so long since I had seen it.
well, I had been here, but you know how you do that thing where you're like, "It's great," and then you leave, and then it had been months since I've been back, of course, and I'm like, "Was it? Was it that nice? Did I check the faucets? Did I check the doors?" I mean, it was like, was it so you get in your head too, and I was so nervous because then she was like every time it came up, she was like, "I haven't even seen it." I'm like, "Oh my god, what if she hates it?" We got here, and everybody was excited, and it was just a huge relief, like, "Okay, it is as good as I
It's
remembered it." So,
it's unbelievable, you guys, and I think part of it is it has this incredible garden that the previous owner, I have to give her all the credit, like, she created, and it's just stunning. Like, every day there's a new flower or a new plant that, like, pops up.
we have like 30 blueberry bushes that I can
We
see from
do, we have
here
a
that
whole
are
field of
fixing to go
blueberries.
nuts in a minute. We're gonna have blueberries for
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, like, it
unless the
just
birds and the deers get to them first, but
right.
the deers. There you go.
We haven't quite gotten over, like, the shock of being here and just how much in love with it we are. The funny part is when we arrived, it was, like, the 2nd week in February,
Yeah, we didn't think that through very well.
but it
Coming from
made
Texas
sense.
to Ohio in February,
But it made sense for, like, an event perspective because we had a
yeah,
slower time there.
we had a
But we got here, and about 3 days later, it snowed, and it stuck.
legit, like a 6-inch stayed on the ground. The kids were in heaven.
I mean, it was as if I don't know, and being from California and then living in Texas, those are the only 2 states I've lived in, you guys. It was like magic. Like, okay, I'm sure I will, ask me next year this time, I'll be like,
Yeah.
"This is
You're like,
miserable,"
"Get the
but
snow off the ground," but well, she kept saying like, "I don't mind the cold." I go, "You're a little California butt that lived in Texas for the past 10 years, does not know cold." Like, you don't know cold, but, like, just sustained I mean, the people that grew up in this, they know. It's not just a couple days here, a couple days there. It's just when it's that 5, 6 months of just like,
yeah.
"Stop, get warm, go away, snow." Like,
Mhm.
oh, that's the part where it just wears you down. But I mean, but we just got the tail end of it, so it was like perfect,
Right.
honestly, perfect.
But like I said, ask us next year, we probably will have a different story, but right now we're just living the high.
I feel like we have to have some wedding knowledge on here, not just us rambling. And so, you have more to that story, or can
Are you
I?
saying I'm rambling?
No, I'm the rambler. Give me a break.
For sure.
Are you okay if I share something that
Sure.
kind of did
Go
well
ahead.
recently? So I had a TikTok or a video, an Instagram reel, whatever, because we usually put them on both. Facebook,
You
we
can
suddenly
yeah.
have a ton of followers that have jumped on Facebook too.
Mhm.
But I had a video that I kept wanting to do because it comes up all the time. And it was this for those of you out there that are engaged, I'm assuming that's why you're following, or if you're somebody, your daughter, your son, whatever, however you're helping, and that's why you're following us. Like the process through the engagement, all the planning, you just get so in the weeds. I'm talking especially to the brides that spend weeks searching for the perfect fill in the blank, the perfect candle, let's say, the perfect color, the perfect shade. Are you going to get a long one? You're going to get a short one? You're going to get a little fat one? You're going to get multiple, what are you going to do? Are you going to have actual candles? Does the venue allow actual candles? Are you going to get ones that light up, the LED ones that drop in the water? There's a million decisions on just the candles. Am I right?
You are right.
And you are going to get so frustrated. You're going to cry at some point. Like they didn't have enough. I'm trying to I found some of the perfect ones, but there's not enough. And I can't find the other ones that have the same, whatever it is. When the day comes, you will not even see a candle. You won't remember a candle. Afterwards, you'll be like, oh yeah, there were candles I was
Mhm.
supposed to, that I spent weeks stressing over. And when the day comes, the one thing you'll hear a lot is it goes by really fast. And there's so much going on.
Mhm.
So much going on. I mean, one, it's your wedding day. Duh, right? But you're getting ready with your girls. You're like going down the aisle. You're the minute you sit down in the room, you're like, oh my God, Aunt Julie's here. Oh my God, I haven't seen her in 10 years. Is that Billy? She's oh my God, he was so little last time. All this stuff is going
Mhm.
on. The candles do not even make a blip on the radar. Like it is the craziest thing. So I mean, whatever it is, the center. I mean, I'm not saying you don't want to get in the weeds and go through all the process because it can be fun. Some of it's fun, some of it's
Mhm.
frustrating. But when the day comes, the reason you're there is to celebrate the two of you making it official. All your family and friends are coming to celebrate with you. They're there. They're excited to be invited. They're excited to eat and drink and party and dance and celebrate with you. And they're there because they love you and they want
Right.
to support you. They could care less about what the candles look like, but they don't know the battle, the struggle that you went through, the weeks in the trenches finding that candle. So when you get to that point in your planning and just like, "Argh," and you're like, you have that X on the wall in your office where it says bang head here, and you're like, bam, bam, bam. Just kind of check your brain and just kind of say, oh yeah, that's why I'm doing all this, right?
Absolutely. That's kind of our PSA and our new
Yeah,
motto
there it
on this
is.
whole thing. But the other thing too is then like you want to kind of weigh your decisions on like where you prioritize things, right? Because the experience of your wedding, speaking of it going by fast, right, is you only have, let's say, like 7 hours, right, from start to finish. And so, like, it's really important to have vendors or people that are supporting you so that you can experience those moments and those emotions and not feel frustrated or rushed or that things are behind or that people are harassing you with a million questions, right? So, as much as, people prioritize the aesthetic, like what things look like, we often say that it's even more important that you have people there to support the experience of your event, right?
And make sure you don't miss it
Yeah.
because it goes by really fast. And if you get caught up on whatever other little thing, it like detracts from the experience that you, like you said, it's already quick, but it will go faster in your mind than you could possibly imagine because time stands still for the two of you on the two getting married because every conversation is not like, oh yeah, how's the weather? Whatever. They're just like, oh my God, you look so beautiful. This is John. I've heard
Yeah.
so much about you. Finally, nice to meet you. All the things, right? And so it just time is standing still, but it's going by fast, right? It's going by fast. So
Mhm.
and that's kind of the thing where people say it's so expensive and the vendors are expensive, which is true. And I'm not trying to talk anybody into getting professionals, but the other thing you get from professionals, not just the good pictures, but the competence. You don't get that
Mhm.
disappointment after we're like, oh man, the pictures were terrible. Or you had an uncle with an iPod that DJ'd for you and it was way cheap, but it wasn't a very good party. And they
Right.
didn't read the crowd and they didn't MC and it's just not the same. So there's a lot of tangible things and non-tangible things that you
Right.
get from a professional, but what they're gonna do for you is focus on you. They've got the experience to know when to zig, when to zag, and when to, like, let things ride out, and let's, like, we gotta change this, like, right now before because it could go south or whatever it is, but to make sure that the day is as you envisioned it and as you imagined it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and like we are huge advocates of kind of finding an event that works for you in all senses, meaning like budget wise, how many people you want, where you want to have it. But there's, of course, based on our experience, there's going to be things that we're going to recommend or maybe not recommend because we've seen how it goes, right? And that's true for any vendor category. And you can lean on those people to help make those decisions so that you have a better event.
Absolutely.
So I think, we've kind of caught you up on a lot of what has happened with us. I think it's important that we let you guys know that we're excited to be back and doing episodes again. As I mentioned in the beginning, if you have an idea for an episode, if there's something we haven't talked about, which I don't even know how that's possible, but no, I'm sure it is. Then let us know, email us, comment on one of our posts,
I feel like
and let us
we have to
know.
do an episode on candles now, I think. It's like
A whole candle episode?
I we could do 40 minutes on candles.
Right. Now, a favor I have to ask of all of you is if you're
Favors? We could do one on fa is that
we
what
could
you're
do
saying?
no.
Favors? No, that's not what you
Um,
meant.
if you guys do are you new to us listening to the podcast or you enjoyed the podcast in the past, leave us a review. We're trying to get the wheels going again on the podcast because it kind of drops off just like social media. If you don't engage, they kind of lose who you are. So we're coming back.
Hooray. Excited. High
Hooray.
five for being back.
Yes,
Bam.
and we're excited to be here, you guys.
It is your day. Like, just put the blinders on, look at your fiance and say, what do we want to do? Don't let somebody talk you into something you don't want to do or talk you out of something you have your heart set on. It's your day. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Just do you.
So happy wedding planning, y'all. We'll seal it with a kiss.
Hey, we do that. Ready? Bye.
Right.
Mwah.
Hey, so thanks for listening to our podcast. If you found any of this information helpful and you know somebody who may be engaged or is a maid of honor, maybe you could tell them and share it with a friend.
Absolutely. So screenshot this episode, share it on Instagram, on Facebook, and tag the wedding duo. We promise to share the love back. Also, if you are interested in more resources or the show notes, you can go to theweddingduo.co. We have one-on-one virtual sessions, a shop, all sorts of fun stuff. Check it out.